Hi, I'm John of Figurative Arc, and get some tea out and get comfortable because I'm going to be doing a painting demonstration of a male figure that I'm going to call Moonlight Provider, and see if you like my definition of what a provider is for a man. So I'm going to talk to you first about my process here. I've sketched this figure, and now I'm putting some black gesso, which is an acrylic. And then I'm going to start painting using white gesso, almost monochromatically. It'll be black and white. Now, I've put the figure in first, which is a little challenging because normally you don't put things forward in the painting first. So I'm doing things a little bit differently. And then I'm going to start adding color here in a bit using oil on top of it as kind of a glaze. And it'll be a kind of a moonlight scene here. I am inspired to do this particular pose with this male figure because I remember reading and even seeing images in places, for example, in Africa, where women would carry these 40-pound jugs on their head of water and would have to walk out for miles to get water every day. And that made me think of, that would be an interesting role reversal to have a man do it. I started thinking about, well, what does that even mean, being a provider? Because sometimes that's associated with masculinity. If it's providing resources, physical, emotional, financial, well, women do that too. So I'm kind of like, what really distinguishes a man from a woman in this if you're talking about masculinity? And that's what I kind of wanted to think about as I was doing this painting. Obviously, people are in different kinds of relationships where providers would look differently. I grew up in a single-parent family house where my mom raised me and my brother. Some are by themselves single. Some are in relationships with a man or woman. Some are two men, some are two women, and some are multiple people in loving relationships. So what does provider really look like in the context of those things? What I finally decided for myself through doing this painting is my own definition of how I would define that for myself, not the definition of what a provider is in relation to masculinity. But it seems to me that if a man takes an initiative of prompting the conversation about the people around him in his life and himself, what are the individual gifts that people can provide? So rather than it being decided, well, I'm going to provide this because I'm a man or a woman because society expects me to do that, what makes sense for the people in my life in relation to my gifts? So I think if a man encourages that conversation and allows that to happen, that to me is being a provider. And also looking at himself as how is he providing for his own needs? And does he have good boundaries around that, of how those things are protected? So that's kind of what I was thinking as far as my thoughts about masculinity being a provider. Now, getting back to talking about the painting that you're watching, obviously we're into the oil now. And I put a very thin linseed oil on top of the black. And so this is going to allow me to put a very thin amount of paint on here. And I can even scrub and remove paint, which I'll do on this figure. Yep, there it goes. And now we got to put in the moon. Again, normally I would do all the stuff in the background first. I would not have the foreground with the figure first. But yeah, moonlight provider, something mysterious like masculinity. That was the other idea of why I wanted it set during this time. And I kind of explained the other things here. But this was kind of a fun painting. It's different approach than what I'm used to. So I'd be interested in hearing in your comments below once you finish watching the rest of this, like what do you think masculinity is in relation to being a provider? Do you have different ideas? Leave comments below about that. I'd be really interested in hearing what your thoughts are on my interpretation, which again, that's all it is. It's just my view. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. That really helps out the channel tremendously. If you do that, consider subscribing as I do more artwork and kind of tell you the ideas that I'm kind of grappling with when I do art, because there's something specific that I'm trying to work out or express when I do art, whether it's painting or photography or even experimental film. And toward the end here, I will show you the final painting and kind of in silence, and you may even hear some nocturnal animals in the background as you just kind of soak in the picture. Got to have our water lines in here. Again, a little tricky working around the male figure here. But thanks for keeping company on my channel. Here's the final version coming up of the painting in just a moment. But I hope to see you again next time. And toodaloo.